Okay, first we're going to talk about materials. And just really quick, you know, and please don't take this as expert advice. This is just one mom who's done this for a long time and done it with her family. And so really it's, I'm not an expert, and there are lots of ways to do this. I've talked to different teachers, even Waldorf trained teachers, that have done it many, many different ways. So please don't feel like this is the definitive on how to watercolor paint. We're just doing the best we can all the time. So, but I will tell you some of our favorite things. When it comes to paint brushes, let's talk about brushes really quick. I definitely have favorites. One of the things that I highly recommend is this white kindergarten paintbrush that they sell at Mercurius. And it comes in 3 different sizes. It comes in a 3/4 inch and a 1 inch. And we carry both of those. And I think it also comes in like a 1 and an 1/8 inch. As far as paint goes, I like, Mercurius sells lots of different paints. And you can get lots of different kinds of watercolor in other places in the world, but I like what Mercurius sells. They sell the Stockmar brand, and that really is my favorite brand. I've used several other brands that you can get from the craft store, but really the Stockmar brand is the one that I like. And what we're going to use today are just the 3 circle colors. Now, some Waldorf painting teachers will have you use a gold yellow and a lemon yellow and then 2 different blues. And I used to do that, and I still occasionally do that, but really and truly, you can get some really beautiful color with just these 3 circle colors. Now these are like the gigantic bottles, and they come in smaller bottles too. The ones that we sell are smaller, and it really just depends on how much you paint. We've only been carrying the 20 ml size, but I've noticed that since we've been painting more, we're going through it faster, so we'll probably start carrying the bigger sizes as well. And, you know, it's really, really good paint. And so that's kind of the medium that we're working with. One of the things that people ask us a lot is, you know, what ratio do you use? And I think it totally depends on what you're doing. If you want a really muted, kind of quieter painting, and that's the feeling you're going for, then you want to do maybe 1 part paint to 4 or even 6 parts water, depending on, you know, where you're at. I would just really experiment. I generally do either a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2. But my kids, again, my kids are older. When we're painting with just Samuel, we do just a teeny tiny bit of paint and lots of water because it gets everywhere. So when your kids are younger, you can really get away with using a lot less paint. So that's as far as paint and brushes go. And then the other thing, and there's some debate on this, and Mel and I have discussed this a lot, but as far as whether or not you mix it ahead of time, I really do think it's personal preference. I think if you've only got 1 or 2 children, then you've got more time, then you can pretty much afford to take that time to mix paint fresh every time if that's what you choose. Because we paint as often as we do, and I have 4 children, I really want the paint to be ready, because I will say to my kids, oh, well, let's not paint today because we have to mix paint. And I know it only takes a few seconds, but when you're doing 50 million other things, that few seconds is golden to me. So I mix it and I keep it in the fridge. And so I'll mix enough, but I don't mix a ton. So I'll probably mix enough for 3 or 4 painting days, and we paint once a week and sometimes a little bit more than that. So then I just kind of stick it in the fridge. And I laugh, what I stick it in, if you've got canning jars, that works. I use basil or garlic jars. These are great. I laugh because you open my schoolroom cabinet and you kind of get knocked over by garlic, because all my jars smell like garlic because we eat so much garlic. So I mix it and keep it in that, and then keep it in the fridge. It keeps nice and fresh. It's easy to pour off then when you're ready to paint. So does anybody have any questions so far that's watching live? I'm just going to keep right on going. The paintings that I would start with first, when you're painting with a kindergartner or younger, or even just somebody who's never painted before. We do these with adults when I do training all the time, is just a very simple color story painting. And a color story is anything where you can just kind of bring in the elements of colors and watch them mix. Now I would start with, well, I'm going to show you a 3-color story, but I would start with painting with 1 color and playing with the intensities a little bit, and then doing a 2-color story, so before you move on to a 3-color. But a color story could be something so simple as Blue went for a walk. And, you know, blue is kind of a calming, soothing, sometimes a little melancholic color. So you're going to kind of downplay that a little bit. And but blue can also be very vibrant, so it kind of depends on what you're going for. So blue's going for a walk, and then he's joined by yellow. Now yellow is a really happy color, usually very excited color. Yellow is something that's associated with, you know, with very sanguine people. And so when yellow enters the picture, yellow is really excited to hold blue's hand. And when yellow holds blue's hand, then what's the gift that the two of them have together? And that's what I would pose to your child. So what's the gift that they have together? And of course your child will then say green, because you've mixed the 2 colors together. So that would be a really simple color story, and you can do that with yellow and red going for a walk together, and really playing up the temperaments of the colors, where red would be stronger and maybe a little bit more bossy. Yellow, again, is a real happy color, and blue would be kind of more of a mellow color. Now, if you do the 3 together, what I like to just do the standard birthday party one, because it's really easy. And I want to say that one is in, it's a standard Waldorf one that they do in the schools, but I want to say it's in the book Painting with Children. And I'm thinking that's where I got it the first time. But the birthday party one is super easy, and I'm just going to hold this up, and you can see all of the different colors as they mix together. Now this was Blue's birthday party, and so I started with bringing in and entering Blue. And I entered in from the top, and Blue's just kind of checking out the room as he's getting ready for his birthday party. And then there's a knock at the door, and of course I always do the knock so that the kids can hear the knock. It's part of the story. So there's a knock at the door, and whichever one you want to come in next, yellow or red, comes in and enters the party. And again, going back to our other story about yellow, yellow is really happy and vibrant, and really wants to hold Blue's hand and touch Blue and see everything. So yellow just kind of goes through and touches everything. And so as yellow's doing that, of course the gift that yellow brings to the party is green. And so you know, that's really kind of just showing them how colors mix together. And then from that, then red could come to the party. And again, I would knock at the door and have red show up at the party, and then just kind of do the same sort of thing. Now, one thing you want to be careful about is that you don't want them to make mud. I always tell them that mud is not invited to the party. And so the way to make mud is to have all the colors like mixing together. So you want to kind of keep them from having all the colors mixing together. You want them to just kind of keep 2 colors at a time, because there is a time to make mud, and in some of the pictures I'll show we will be making mud, but you kind of don't want to do that when you're starting with the color story, because a lot of kids get really discouraged then. And really just kind of playing with color intensity, how much water you should have on the paper. And you know, if your colors aren't as vibrant as you want them to be, you can absolutely change the consistency of your paint, and you can also make sure that you're using a rag. And I just use you know, old cloth diapers, and we just really dab our paintbrush well. So you know, if you're getting ready to paint and you're wanting more vibrant color, I just really make sure that I, you know, go over back and forth and get as much water off as I can before I go into the paint, because then it will obviously spread the more water you have on there. So that kind of becomes you know, an important tool, having a rag. And